What's this? A ring? This ring should be destroyed. I wonder if I can get a ride with the eagles. Maya Govanen Melanath, and welcome to my channel. Today is Tolkien Reading Day, or if you are a super Lord of the Rings fan like myself, it is the day in Middle-earth history that the One Ring was destroyed. So in honor of this day, I decided to sculpt something that depicts the destruction of one kingdom through the One Ring and the resurrection of another through the sword Anduril, the one carried by Aragorn, the heir to the throne of Gondor. So if you guys are ready, let's head to Middle-earth, walk into Mordor, and let's go destroy this ring. For this sculpt, I started with my wood base and drilled some holes in it and took some extra large armature wire to create the skeletal frame for my sword. Then I wrapped another piece of wire around the base of where the hilt is to create the skeletal frame for the crossguard. Then I wrapped the blade part in foil. I did not record it, but I did cover my foil in liquid Sculpey to give my clay something to attach to, and I wrapped the entire blade portion of my sword in a medium firm super Sculpey. Here I'm just taking some extra clay to make sure that the blade goes all the way up to the crossguard. Here I'm taking some strips of clay to create the groove that you see in the center of the blade, which I just now learned is called a fuller. And the fuller is there to make the blade lighter, but it is also there to make it stronger against buckling. Just a little fun fact for you, since I just learned it, I thought I'd share it with y'all. Anyway, back to the blade. I'm using this flat edge tool to kind of help smooth and flatten those edges just a little bit cleaner so that it looks more like a sword blade. Then I add the little curve at the top of the fuller and blend it in. Now it's time to move on to the crossguard, and I just take the same medium firm super Sculpey and I wrap both sides of the crossguard and the middle with that clay. So here I'm starting to create the detailing, and right here at this point is a kind of a diamond shaped detailing, and I just try to get as clean of a line as I can, and then I take some more clay to create that little piece of metal that goes down right over the base of the blade. Here I'm trying to create the ends or the sides of the crossguard, and it has like this little curved piece, and I'm just cutting off some excess clay to create that kind of indentation that these pieces have. Then I just take a rope of clay and place it right in the center to create that kind of rounded triangle that's on the inside of the end of the crossguard. And then I attach it to the end of the crossguard. Here I'm cutting out the middle part of those embellished areas and smoothing it out. And then I just repeat it on the other side of the crossguard. Next, I'm just adding some more wire to my hilt because I realized I did not make my hilt long enough. Then, to bulk out the hilt without adding too much weight, I took some Sculpey Ultralight and wrapped it around that hilt and baked it. Once my sword is baked and cooled, then I wrap the clay in more medium firm super Sculpey. I also cut out that little triangle section at the end of his hilt. Here I'm just adding some more clay to the sides of the base of the hilt to make it bigger and rounder. Next, I'm just adding that little bar that goes right where that leather piece is going to go. Then I take some ropes of clay and I wrap it around the place where your hand would go on the hilt and blend it in. Then I take one more rope of clay and wrap it right around that part of the hilt. I don't know what that part's called. I finished up the hilt with this rope of clay and I blended it into where it was sloping downwards towards that center hole that I created. And I just used this metal tool to really highlight that crease area right there in the center. And then finish it off with that triangle embellishment right around the edge. And then right before baking, I added a light coat of clay softener. While my sword is baking its final bake, I took some thicker rolled out piece of clay and created this ring shape. I wanted to make it look like it was melting in the lava, so I cut off a little bit of an incline to give it a slant to it, and then once I was happy with its shape, I put it in the oven to bake. I'm not an expert at paint pouring, so this is an experiment for me, but I really wanted to try to recreate the look of lava as best I could. So I just took some red, orange, yellows, and blacks and just started pouring until it looked somewhat like lava. And for the final part before painting the sword and the ring, I take my Dremel tool and just engrave that inscription that's written on the fuller part of the sword. And of course, you can't have the One Ring without the black speech inscription written on it as well. I did not get all 4 lines on here. I was very bummed about that, but I just didn't have room for it. And then I remembered I wanted the ring to look like it was slightly melting, so I took some liquid Sculpey around the base and baked it. Okay, so I pulled my ring out of the oven after I put the liquid Sculpey on to make it look like melted ring. And I got a little hasty, and you really shouldn't be hasty, and put it on my paint, and this happened. So don't be hasty when you're dealing with hot things coming out of the oven. Now I finally get to paint, and I took this metallic gold and I just painted the melted portion and the entirety of the One Ring. Now I'm going to add a little disclaimer here. I'm going to use this Gilded Leaf paint that I got at Hobby Lobby for my ring. I cannot promise you that this is safe for all clays. I did do a test on some clay for my Gallum coin that I made last year, and I have yet to see any adverse effects to the clay, but because I don't know what this stuff is made out of, do a test run before you use it on your clay, because I would hate for it to ruin some of your clay. Just like spray paint, some things just do not work well with polymer clay, so always do a test before you use it if it's not acrylic. For the sword, I used a metallic silver paint and just painted the blade, the crossguard, and the base of the hilt in this silver paint. And once my paint was dry, I cut out a piece of leather and punched out some holes, and I'm just lacing up this leather to my hilt. I have done very little leather work, and this is definitely not perfect, but I am so glad that I had this thought because I think it just makes it so cool. Now, I really didn't like the way my base looked. It looked like lava, but it just looked like a round circle. So I'm taking some Magic Sculpt, which is basically the same as epoxy sculpt, just mixing equal portions and blending it until it is all one solid color. And then once it is fully mixed, I place it right around the base of my circle to give it just a little bit more dimension and not a circle look. Then I took a crushed piece of foil to create a rocky texture to the clay, and then I let it sit overnight. I also poured a thin layer of epoxy on top of my lava to give it a shiny look and also glue my ring into place. The Magic Sculpt is fully set, so I paint the whole thing black. Then to complete the whole sculpt, I add a very light yellow to the etching on the ring to give it that glowy, magical look that it has in the movies. And then it'll be completely finished. And here it is. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. This is my favorite sculpt to date. Now my husband has to take credit for it because he did technically come up with the idea, but I pulled it off all on my own. And I absolutely love the leather on this because it just makes it feel like a real sword. And I'm excited that I was able to pull it off. Anyways, if you are also a fellow Lord of the Rings nerd like myself, leave a comment in the comment section so I can find my fellow nerds. And also, who's your favorite character? Mine is Faramir and Éowyn. They're both my favorites. I love them so much. They are such great characters, and the fact that they end up together, they're my favorites. You can't go wrong with any of the characters though, so no hate no matter who you choose. I hope you all enjoyed watching me make this. I had a blast making it, being such a huge Lord of the Rings nerd. If you did, click the like button so that I know that I'm making content that you guys are enjoying. It also boosts my videos to people who also enjoy this kind of content as well. Anyways, I hope you all have a great day, and namaste.